Yo, chat. You good, man? Good day. Productive day. Not gay. Yeah, not much to really say. I ate some good food today, I felt like. I went climbing today. Hurt my pointer finger. Do. But yeah, let's get straight into it. Diagnose before you prescribe. Although it's risky and hard, seek first to understand or diagnose before you describe is a correct principle manifest in many areas of life. It's a mark of all true professionals. It's critical for the optometristic. It's critical for the physician. You wouldn't have any confidence in a doctor's prescription unless you had confidence in the diagnose. When our daughter Jenny was only 2 months old, she was sick one Saturday, the day of a football game in our community that dominated the consciousness of almost everyone. It was an important game. Some 60,000 people were there. Sandra and I were like to have gone, but we didn't want to leave Jenny. Her vomiting and diarrhea had us concerned. The doctor was at the game. He wasn't our personal physician, but he was the one on call. When Jenny's situation got worse, we decided we needed some medical advice. Sandra dialed the stadium and had him pegged. It was right at a critical time in the game, and she could sense an officious tone in his voice. Yes, he said briskly, "What is it?" "This is Mr. Covey, doctor, and we're concerned about our daughter Jenny." What's the situation?" he asked. Sandra described the symptoms and he said, "Okay, I'll call in a prescription. What is your pharmacy?" When she hung up, Sandra felt that in her rush she hadn't really given him full data, but that what she had told him was adequate. "Do you think he realized that Jenny is just a newborn?" I asked her. "I'm sure he does," Sandra replied, "but he's not our doctor. He's never even treated her." "Well, I'm pretty sure he knows." "Are you willing to give her the medicine unless you're absolutely sure he knows?" Sandra was silent. "What are you going to do?" She finally said, "Call him back," I said. "You call him back, Sandra." So I did. He was packed out of the game once again. "Doctor," I said, "when you called in that prescription, did you realize that Jenny is just 2 months old?" "No," he exclaimed. "I didn't realize that. It's good you called me back. I'll change the prescription immediately." If you don't have the confidence in the diagnose, you won't have confidence in this prescription. This principle is also true in sales. An effective salesman first seeks to understand the needs, the concerns, and situation of the customer. The amateur salesman sells products. The professional sells solutions to needs and problems. It's a totally different approach. The professional learns how to diagnose, how to understand. He also knows how to relate people's needs to his products and services. And he has to have the integrity to say, "My product or service will not meet that need," if it will not. Diagnosing before you describe is also fundamental to law. In professional law, first gathers the facts to understand the situation, to understand the laws and precedents before preparing a case. A good lawyer also almost writes the opposing attorney's case before he writes his own. It's also true in product design. Can you imagine someone in a company saying, this consumer research stuff is for the birds, let's design products"? In other words, forget understanding the customer's buying habits and motives, just design products. It would never work. A good engineer will understand the forces, the stresses at work before designing the bridge. A good teacher will assess the class before teaching. A good student will understand before he applies. A good parent will understand before evaluating or judging. The key to good judgment is understanding. By judging first, a person will never fully understand. Seek first to understand is a correct principle evident in all areas of life. It's a generic common denominator principle, but it has its greatest power in the area of interpersonal relations. 4 autobiographical responses. Before we listen autobiographically, we tend to respond in one of 4 ways. We evaluate, we either agree or disagree, we probe. We ask questions from our own frame of reference. We advise. We give consent based on our own experiences, or we interpret. We try to figure people out, to explain their motives, their behavior based on our own motives and behavior. These responses come naturally to us. We are deeply scripted in them. We live around models of them all the time, but how do they affect our ability to really understand? If I'm trying to communicate with my son, can he feel free to open himself up to me when I evaluate everything he says before he really explains it? Am I giving him psychological air? And how does he feel when I probe? Probing is playing 20 questions. It's autobiographical. It controls and it invades. It's also logical, and the language of logical is different from the language of sentiment and emotion. You can play 20 questions all day and not find out what's important to someone. Constant probing is one of the main reasons parents do not get close to their children. How is it going, son? Fine. Well, what's been happening lately? Nothing. So what's exciting in school? Not much. And what are your plans for the weekend? I don't know. I can't get him off the phone talking with his friends, but all he gives you are 1 and 2 word answers. Your house is a motel where he eats and sleeps, but he never shares, never opens up. And when you think about it, honestly, why should he? If every time he does open up his soft underbelly, you elephant stomp it with autobiographical advice, and I told you sauce. We are so deeply scripted in these responses that we don't even realize when we use them. I have taught this concept to thousands of people in seminars across the country, and it never fails to shock them deeply as we role play empathic listening situations, and they finally begin to listen to their own typical responses. But as they begin to see how they normally respond and learn how to listen with empathy, they can use the dramatic results in communication. To many, seek first to understand becomes the first exciting, the most immediately applicable of all the 7 habits. Let's take a look at what might be a typical communication between a father and his teenage son. Look at his father's words in the terms of the 4 different responses we have just described. Boy, Dad, I've had it. School is for the birds. What's the matter, son? Problem? It's totally impractical. I don't get a thing out of it. Well, you just can't see the benefits yet, son. I feel the same way when I was your age. I remember thinking what a waste of time of the classes were, but those classes turned out to be the most helpful to me later on. Just hang in there. Give it some time. I've given it 10 years of my life. Can you tell me what good X plus Y is going to be to me as an auto mechanic? An auto mechanic? You got to be kidding. No, I'm not. Look at Joe. He's quit school, he's working on cars, and he's making lots of money. Now that's practical. It may look that way now, but several years down the road, Joe's going to wish he'd stayed in school. You don't want to be an auto mechanic. You need an education to prepare you for something better than that. I don't know. Joe's got a pretty good setup. Look, son, have you really tried? I've been in high school 2 years now. Sure, I've tried. It's just a waste. That's a highly respected school, son. Give them a little credit. Well, the other guys feel the same way I do. Do you realize how many sacrifices your mother and I have made to get you where you are? You can't quit when you're come this far. I know you're sacrificed, Dad, but it's just not worth it. Look, maybe you spent more time doing your homework and less time in front of the TV. Look, Dad, it's just no good. Oh, never mind. I don't want to talk about this anyway. Obviously, his father was well-intended. Obviously, he wanted to help. But did he even begin to really understand? Let's look more carefully at the son, not just his words, but his thoughts and feelings expressed parenthetically below, and the possible effects of some of his son's autobiographical responses. Oh boy, Dad, I've had it. School is for the birds. What's the matter, son? It's totally impractical. I don't get a thing out of it. Well, you just can't see the benefits yet, son. I feel the same way when I was your age. Oh no, he's come chapter 3 of Dad's autograph. This isn't what I want to talk about. I don't really care how many miles he tried. He had to trudge through the snow to school without any boots. I want to get to the problem. I remember thinking what a waste of the classes were, but those classes turned out to be the most helpful to me later on. Just hang in there. Give it some time. Time won't solve my problem. I wish I could tell you. I wish I could just spit it out. I've given it 10 years of my life. Can you tell me what good X plus Y is going to do me as an auto mechanic? An auto mechanic, you got to be kidding. He wouldn't like me if I were an auto mechanic. He wouldn't like me if I didn't finish school. I had to justify what I said. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Look at Joe. He's quit. He's working on cars. He's making lots of money. Now that's practical. It may look that way now, but several years down the road, Joe's going to wish he stayed in school. Oh boy, here comes lecture number 16 on the value of an education. You don't want to be an auto mechanic. How do you know that, Dad? Do you really have an idea what I want? You need an education to prepare you for something better than that. I don't know. Joe's got a pretty good setup. He's not a failure. He didn't finish school and he's not a failure. Look, son, have you really tried? He's beating around the bush, Dad. If you'd just listen, I really want to talk about something important. I've been in high school 2 years now. Not sure I've tried. It's just a waste. That's a highly respected school, son. Give them a little credit. Okay, great. Now we're talking credibility. I wish I could talk about what I want to talk about. Well, the other guys feel the same way I do. I have some credibility too. I'm not a moron. Do you realize how many sacrifices your brother made to get you where you are? Oh, here comes the guilt trip. Maybe I am a moron. That the school's great, mom and dad are great, and I'm a moron. You can't quit where you come this far. I know you're sacrificed, Dad, but that's just not worth it. You just don't understand. Look, maybe you spent more time doing your homework and less time in front of the TV. That's not the problem, Dad. That's not it at all. I'll never be able to tell you I was dumb to try. Look, Dad, it's no good. Oh, never mind. I don't want to talk about this more. Can you see how limited we are when we try to understand another person on the basis of words alone, especially when we're looking at that person through our own glasses? Can you see how limiting our autobiographical responses are to a person who is genuinely trying to get us to understand his biography? You will never be able to truly step inside another person to see the world as he sees it until you develop the pure desire, the strength of personal character, and the positive emotional bank account, as well as the empathetic listening skills to do it. The skills, the tip of the iceberg of empathetic listening, involve 4 developmental stages. The first and least effective is to mimic content. This is a skill taught in active or reflective listening. Without the character and relationship base, it is often insulting to people and causes them to close up. It is, however, a first stage skill because it at least causes you to listen to what's being said. Mimicking content is easy. You just listen to the words that come out of someone's mouth and you repeat them. You're hardly even using your brain at all. Boy, Dad, I've had it. School is for the birds. You've had it. You think school is for the birds. You have essentially repeated back the content of what was being said. You haven't evaluated or probed or advised or interpreted. You're at least showing you're paying attention to his words. But to understand, you want to do more. The second stage of empathetic listening is to rephrase the content. It's a little more effective, but still listen to the verbal communication. Boy, Dad, I've had it. School is for the birds. You don't want to go to school anymore. This time you put his meaning into your own words. Now you're thinking about what he said, mostly with the left side, the reasoning, logical side of the brain. The third stage brings your right brain into operation. You reflect feeling, boy, Dad, I've had it. School's for the birds. You're feeling really frustrated. Now you're not paying as much attention to what he's saying as you are to the way he feels about what he's saying. The fourth stage includes both the second and the third. You rephrase the content and reflect the feeling. Boy, Dad, I've had it. School is for the birds. You're really frustrated about school. Frustration is the feeling. School is the content. You're using both sides of your brain to understand both sides of his communication. Now, what happens when you use fourth stage empathetic listening skills is really incredible. As you authentically seek to understand, as you rephrase content and reflect feeling, you give him psychological air. You also help him work through his own thoughts and feelings. As he grows in his confidence of your sincere desire to really listen and understand, the barrier between what's going on inside him and what's actually being communicated to you disappears. It opens a soul to soul flow. He's not thinking and feeling one thing and communicating another. He begins to trust you with his innermost tender feelings and thoughts. I'm just gonna read what the new topic is about. Well, let's begin. So, you're really frustrated about school. I sure am. It's totally impractical. I'm not getting a thing out of it. You feel like school is not doing you any good? Well, yeah, I'm just not learning anything that's going to help me. I mean, look at Joe. He's dropped out of school and he's working on cars. He's making money. Now that's practical. You feel that Joe really has the right idea? Well, I guess he does in a way. He's really making money now, but in a few years I bet he's probably be ticked off at himself. You think Joe's going to feel he made the wrong decision? He's got to just look at what he's given up. I mean, if you don't have an education, you just can't make it in this world. Education is really important. Oh yeah, I mean, if you don't have a diploma, if you can't get jobs or go to college, what are you going to do? You just got to get an education. It's important to your future. It is. And you know what? I'm really worried. Listen, you won't tell mom, will you? You don't want your mother to find out. Well, not really, I guess. Oh, I guess you can tell her. She's probably find out anyway. Look, I took this test today, this reading test, and Dad, they said I'm reading on a fourth grade level, fourth grade, and I'm a junior in high school. What a difference real understanding can make. All the well-meaning advice in the world won't amount to a hill of beans if we're not even addressing the real problem. And we'll never get to the problem if you're so caught up in our own autobiography, our own paradigms, that we don't take off our glasses long enough to see the world from another point of view. I'm going to flunk, Dad. I guess I figure if I'm going to flunk, I might as well quit, but I don't want to quit. You feel torn, you're in the middle of a dilemma. What do you think I should do, Dad? By seeking first to understand, his father had just turned a transactional opportunity into a transformational opportunity. Instead of interacting on a surface, get the job done level of communication, he has created a situation where he can now have transforming impact not only on his son but also on the relationship. By setting aside his own autobiography and really seeking to understand, he has made a tremendous deposit in the emotional bank account and has empowered his son to open layer upon layer and to get to the real issue. Now, father and son are on the same side of the table looking at the problem instead of on opposite sides looking across at each other. The son is opening his father's autobiography and asking for advice. Even as the father begins to console, however, he needs to be sensitive to his son's communication. As long as the response is logical, the father can effectively ask questions to give consent, but the moment the response becomes emotional, he needs to go back to empathetic listening. Well, I can see some things you want to consider. Look, like what, Dad? Like getting some special help with your reading. Maybe they have some kind of tutoring program over at the tech school. I've already checked into that. It takes 2 nights and all day Saturday. That would take so much time. Sensing emotion that reply, the father moves back to empathy. That's too much of a price to pay. Besides, Dad, I took the sixth graders. I'd be their coach. You don't want to let them down. But I'll tell you this, Dad. If I really thought that tutoring course would help, I'd be down there every night. I'd get someone else to coach those kids. You really want the help, but you doubt if the course will make a difference. Do you think it would, Dad? The son is once more open and logical. He's opening his father's autobiography again. Now the father has another opportunity to influence and transform. There are times when transformation requires no outside counsel. Often when people are really given the chance to give up, open up, they unravel their own problems and the situations become clear to them in the process. At other times, they really need additional perspective and help. The key is to genuinely seek the welfare of the individual, to listen with empathy, to let the person get into the problem and the solution at his own pace and time. Layer upon layer, it's like peeling an onion until you get to the soft inner core. When people are really hurting and you really listen with a pure desire to understand, you'll be amazed how fast they will open up. They want to open up. Children desperately want to open up even more to their parents than to their peers, and they will. If they feel their parents will love them unconditionally and will be faithful to them afterward and not judge or ridicule them. If you really seek to understand without hypocrisy and without guilt, there will be times when you will be literally stunned with the pure knowledge and understanding that will flow to you from another human being. It's even always necessary to talk in order to empathize. In fact, sometimes words may just come into your way. That's one very important reason to why technique alone will not work. The kind of understanding transcends technique. Isolated technique only gets in the way. I've gone through the skills of empathetic listening because the skill is an important part of any habit. We need to have the skills, but let me reiterate that the skills will not be effective unless they come from a sincere desire to understand. People resent any attempt to manipulate them. In fact, if you're dealing with people you're close to, it's helpful to tell them what you're doing. I read this book about listening and empathy, and I thought about my relationship with you. I realize I haven't listened to you like I should, but I want to. It's hard for me. I may blow it at times, but I'm going to work at it. I really care about you, and I want to understand. I hope you'll help me. Affirming your motive is a huge deposit, but if you're not sincere, I wouldn't even try it. It may create an openness and a vulnerability that will later turn to your harm when a person discovers that you really didn't care, you really didn't want to listen, and he's left open, exposed, and hurt. The technique, the tip of the iceberg, has to come out of the massive base of character underneath. Now, there are people who protest that empathetic listening takes too much time. It may take a little more time initially, but it saves so much time downstream. The most effective thing you can do if you're a doctor and want to prescribe a wise treatment is to make an accurate diagnose. You can't say, I'm in too much of a hurry. I don't have time to make a diagnose. Just take this treatment. I remember writing one time in a room on the north shore of Oahu, Hawaii. There was a soft breeze blowing, and so I had opened two windows, one at the front and one at the side, to keep the room cool. I had a number of papers laid out, chapter by chapter, on a large table. Suddenly, the breeze started picking up and blowing my papers about. I remember the frantic sense of loss I felt because these things were no longer in order, including unnumbered papers, and I began rushing around the room, trying desperately to put them back. Finally, I realized it would be better to take 10 seconds and close one of the windows. Empathetic listening takes time, but it doesn't take anywhere near as much time as it takes to back up and correct misunderstandings where you're already miles down the road. To redo, to live with to unexpressed and unsolved problems, to deal with the results of not giving people psychological air. A discerning, empathetic listener can read what's happening down deep, fast, and can show such acceptance, such understanding that other people feel safe to open up layer after layer until they get to the soft inner core where the problem really lies. People want to be understood, and whatever investment of time it takes to do that will bring much greater results of time as you work from an accurate understanding of the problems and issues, and from the high emotional bank account that results when a person feels deeply understood. A lot to unpack, for sure. I don't want to, video's already long, but one thing that really stuck out to me was the doctor's example, and one, from the doctor's perspective, it's a little bit of a difficult situation because he's out, he's not in work, he's new to this family, and he gets a call saying that this daughter of a family, of a married couple, is in severe situation, and the best thing that he needs to do is they just give him treatment. But he didn't fully understand the situation. So the other side of it is that the family side is that they wanted to make sure that they were treating their daughter correctly and make sure the other person understands as well. And I think that goes to show that sometimes it's not just one person identifying that they need to understand, but it's also the other party getting the other person to understand as well. And this is why I think the author tied in the idea around the son and father. Obviously, the son is a little younger, so doesn't have the confidence and courage to tell his own father that, hey, just understand, just listen, and really get to what I'm trying to get at. Because at the end of the day, I'm really trying to tell you something, but I'm trying to ease into it. So I think that's very important, at least in my eyes. Sometimes it may be very difficult for you to approach your friend and say, hey, when I talk to you, please just understand me, and vice versa. For someone that you feel like is not understanding your friend as much, approaching them and saying, hey, I've messed up, but I'm willing to correct this, take some courage and confidence. So I think if you try to build on that and try to practice that a lot more, it will come a lot easier. Especially like this book was saying, that if it comes from a sincere point, sincere soul and heart. Don't just say because you want to get some brownie points. No, do it because you sincerely care about the relationship and trying to help the other person as well. So yeah, I'll end it there. Bit of a longer read today, but yeah.